that the helmet you were talking about?
You want to know the really cool part?
Tell me.
We use it to track dimensional pathways to create images of what we can't see when we blink.
Well, all right then. Let's do this.
Blinking, scientifically known as nicottate. We average 10 blinks per minute. Each blink lasting approximately 0.3 seconds. That is 48 minutes you spend in complete darkness. Now, if 48 minutes of your day are missing, what are we not seeing? What else is there out there? We're about to find out.
You opened a doorway, and this thing came through.
Welcome to Collingwood Institute.
Opinions, viewpoints, and beliefs presented on this program do not necessarily reflect those of the management, the affiliates and broadcast partners, or the sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
Scarefest Radio, the radio you can see.
I think you can.
And hello and good evening, everyone, and welcome to Scarefest TV. The original broadcast date, July 18th, 2025. And yes, we're under the 100-day mark. We're under, somebody in the chat room probably knows exactly how many days we are until Scarefest, but it is coming at us now like the proverbial locomotive. My co-host tonight is the lovely and talented Chad Harlan.
Good evening. Good to see you.
Now I'm not getting the glare off your glasses. Oh, there it is. There it is. There it is.
Well,
Everyone.
I tried to fix it.
When your eye doctor recommends the blue blocker lenses, understand that only works one way. Only works one way, just so you know. And our guest tonight, the lovely and talented Booth Brothers.
Hello.
I am actually shocked you guys didn't have someplace to be tonight.
Oh, well, we're recording upstairs, and
so I'm just interrupting work. Gotcha.
No, you never creation. You never interrupting creation. Yeah, you never interrupt us.
Okay. Give you a rundown what's going on tonight, everybody. Joe Lewis will be reviewing Fear Street Prom Queen. And I've got count them four celebrity announcements. And who's already applied about them in the chat room. I saw you guys. These things work. One in chat rooms on that. Oh, okay. Now, to the Booth Brothers. Welcome back to the show, fellas.
Thank you very much.
I'm just glad we finally got that attached behind us.
Why, you had a lot of attachments?
No, you all milked that thing with me for like 5 years.
Oh, I know. It's still doing incredibly well too.
Oh no, it was a great movie. Don't get me wrong. I love the movie. I love the concept behind it. All that, the documentary, all that. But I'm just saying it was nice to see you all come out with something fresh.
Yes, it was. It was. It's
Well, we'd be coming out with more things fresh, and we just got to move quick.
yeah. I think when you're an indie company and you're doing self financing and self production, it takes a lot of time. And if you really care about it, it does take a little time. Some of the ones that were the best sellers for us, such as like Children of the Grave or Spooked, The Exorcist File, they took what, 2.5 years per project to do.
Yeah.
Because we just don't, do the night vision thing. We do the whole history and then the recreation, and it takes a lot of time. So, look how long Never Blink took. I mean, we were honored to win the Scarefest Award in 23, was it, I think?
Yeah.
For Never Blink. You were there, you helped us celebrate that. And it was very exciting that it's going to be airing July 29th everywhere. And so, that's really exciting.
Now that actually you gave me a perfect segue into my first question. How do you guys finance your movies? You said self-finance, but I don't think you're rich. This looked like an expensive movie to make that I watched.
Well, we have different investors per film. Like when you do the stuff for Sci-Fi Channel, it's an interesting thing. Universal does not finance their stuff for the Sci-Fi Channel. You actually got to go out and get the money, and then they will put a note on it saying they'll buy it once you get the money, once you make it. But you got to get the money, whether it's from a commercial bank or you do a bridge loan or whatever you're doing. Most of our films are done by private investors. So that's kind of one of my jobs, is to find the private investors. And
a lot of our investment in it is the actual time and the post-production and the equipment, because we own the equipment and we own the post-production companies and the equipment. So we put a lot of the physical time into making the film. I mean, I think Netflix took about a year in post-production itself to do the visual effects and all that stuff as well. And then we went back for a reshoot because we never got, a lot of people don't know this, we never got the ending.
A quick story that we were filming, we had done everything but the very ending.
Yeah.
And we only had one day to do the whole ending of the film. And we staying on budget, we got to do this. So we're shooting the end of the film, and it's like and I just had to look at Phil and say, we got to close this down. We ain't gonna get what we want. And we had to be, as a producer, one of the producers, I had to say, let's just call it.
It was
going like,
nerve-wracking.
what happened? What happened? We just closed the movie down, and then we scheduled a reshoot like 4 months.
But what was exciting about it was when you do the meant to be, it allowed us to regroup, raise, additional funds, and go back and shoot a whole new ending. And we used a haunted, deserted school. Dan Allen, I'll do a shout out to him.
Stop. Yeah.
For STOP, which stands for Save the Old Properties. He goes around and purchases old abandoned buildings and does ghost hunts there. And then he allows us to film, horror films and stuff there. And he had this school that looked like the school out of Silent Hill, all dilapidated.
It was falling
and what
down,
was cool, Wes, was it had the same locations that Collingwood, another shout out to Collingwood Arts Center in Ohio, Toledo, Ohio, amazing location.
An old convent.
But this school had the hallways the same, the staircase is the same, the old auditorium was the same, but the difference was one was completely dilapidated and one was completely rebuilt. So when you go back into the Never Blink world, into the Blink world, we needed it to be destroyed.
Right.
And we were so lucky that the school had mimic mirror images of what we had just shot at Collingwood Arts Center.
Okay, now, just to follow up on that. When you arranged the location, is that what caught your eye about it, or did you not realize that until you saw it on camera? The similarities between the two places.
You kind of know.
No, it was storyboarded.
I mean, I do most of the location scouting. I've done it since for 30 years. And I kind of just know. And you also write around your budget. And you go, I can afford this. And, well, I got a friend who helped us out with this. And we can do that to it and do that to it. And then whatever props are around, you write those scenes into the movie so you can save money that way. If it has an old blown up hospital room, you write a hospital room scene, But we knew right away because it just looked like it was right out of Planet of the Apes, blown up, and we got to do it here.
It was an amazing location because the paint was peeling off and all the lockers were rusty and I mean you didn't have to do much. It was like when we shot Death Tunnel, you know, for Sony. When you shot at Waverly Hills Sanatorium, you didn't really have to do a lot of art direction. You know, it was already there. So that's the kind of thing when you're doing independent movies is to try to find a location that's already like that. You know.
Chad, over to you.
Gentlemen, it's great to get to talk to you. You're
Nice to
always
meet you.
one of the highlights when I get to see you all at a con or
nice to
talk
see you again.
online. So it is a pleasure to get to talk to you about this. And in a few minutes, we'll try to get into some of your music stuff too.
Good.
But on this, there was a screening, like you said, at Scarefest. But for anybody who missed it, can you give them kind of the trailer pitch of or the elevator pitch of what to be looking for, and then and you touched on that it's about to be available. So can you give us some idea where people will be able to find it?
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
I think the concept started was when I was blinking and I thought, why does, I notice this blackness in your eyes when you go to blink. And I'm going, well, the scientific fact is when you add that up throughout the day, you actually blink for 48 minutes in a day. And you spend 48 minutes in that little black darkness when you blink, like it goes black, black, black. And I went, what if there's something in there that
It's like this.
that we're not seeing when we blink?
It's a tenth of a second.
What if there's a whole nother world of maybe even creatures in there that get you? And then I thought, wow, that's really scary. I can't even blink anymore because now I'm worried, like, what am I seeing in that dark? Am I seeing? And so that's how the story started to, revolve, and we got some more writers.
Yeah, and Amy a great job, and we kind of thought Flatliners meets Alien would be a kind of a cool thing, and what would you see in the Blink world? And it has blown up for us, Chad. I mean, the trailer has. This is an indie movie and we don't have any advertising. This is all fan based, and we're all struck, other than distribution company, and we had 800,000 views in a week. So that is amazing. It's going to be airing on Voodoo Fandango. I think it used to be Voodoo. It's going to be on Amazon Prime. It's going to be on Apple Plus, Google Play, every major streaming platform that there is. It's there, and it's also on Blu-ray and DVD.
It's in all the direct TVs, the Comcast,
Shaw Cable,
probably Tubi, all of them. And it starts on July 29th.
Yeah, it'll be all paid for VOD, video demand first, and then I would imagine after a few months it'll make its way to the other platforms like YouTube and stuff like that. But July 29th, we're pretty psyched for it. I mean, it's been a hell of a ride. We're excited people to see it. There's a lot of passion.
Well, I've been working on it for 3 years.
There's a lot of passion in this project. People don't get that, how much time we spend making these movies for people. It's not just like, a low budget movie where you just kind of bang it out. In 2 months, you turn it around, like Winnie the Pooh, where it's, just fast blown out. It's a gold slasher film. These are really, really complex films. They're done like these are our Blade Runners, and we treat it as such. Like the score, we can, if you want to segue into the score.
Well, the score, the soundtrack of the album is released on July 15th, and there's a soundtrack, which I'll give you one when I see you.
I would love one.
Yeah, and I have to say, and I've done a lot of albums, obviously, in my career, and with the music business, we'll talk a little bit about it. But I've actually got into very heavy duty mastering on making an album sound the best it could ever. And of course, this is in surround, but in the movie, it's in 7:1 surround. But this was just released last week. And it's doing really well, and it sounds amazing. It sounds so amazing. And also, it also has a remix version of our viral hit, Ulterior Motives.
We had all these
We had to
fans.
put it on there, too.
We had all these fans, and the distribution company said, look, You did 12 million on TikTok on that song. We want you to put the song in the movie. So there's this scene where she's got headphones on, you know, this sexy girl, and she's boxing. Look at it. And in headphones is ulterior motives. So we
And a
thought-
different version of it.
Yeah, that would be a great plus for our fans, is to include that side of it.
But I think music and video, you know, film is what we're into. When we got bored of music way back 40 years ago, we started doing film. And then when we got, you know, bored of film, we went back to music, and we realized it still went hand in hand all that way. And now it's really beautiful to whether write music, then Phil puts the video to it, or Phil does a video and then I put the music to it. But it has this storytelling passion. And I think I have to be honest with you, without, especially the music right now and with what's going on in the world today, couldn't make it. You know, I couldn't make it. It's such a beautiful escape. I mean, I don't have any vices anymore, you know, because I was in the 80s and I had a lot of vices, right? Not anymore. So the music saves us, you know, it really does.
Well, and your passion really shows on all the projects. We'll talk about it a little more when we come back. We're going to toss to our first break. We'll be right back with the Booth Brothers.
Are you a fan of horror movies, books, comics, music, and collectibles? Rue Morgue magazine is for you. Subscribe today to receive 6 or 12 print issues annually and join me, executive editor Andrea Subasati, on an ongoing journey through the horror genre of the past, present, and future. Plus, get access to unmissable special editions such as A Century of Witches, 50 Years of Gore Cinema, British horror movies, and so much more. Rue Morgue, the world's premier horror and culture and entertainment magazine since 1997. Accept no substitute.
Back here.
And welcome back, everybody, to Scarefest TV. We're talking. There's the other one.
Yeah.
Me and twins, I
Had to
couldn't
get
tell
some
which one
more
was mine. Okay. Now, first of all, the production. Forget about the filming of it. No, the after production part, where you put it all together, the editing.
Post-production?
Yeah, post-production. It shows in this movie. One thing that caught me about it, that is the first one that I remember where I'm going to use the term high tech. This was a very high tech look for you guys. How, I don't know, I guess you are high tech, but I've just never seen it in your movies. How do you go, how did you go about visualizing the set pieces, the computer screens, you know, the visualizations, the monster, all that stuff? This is very high tech.
Well, I think one of the lessons in independent filmmaking is never make a science fiction film, because it's going to cost you a lot of money. Our film started out horror and drifted to the sci-fi market. So once we're in the science fiction market, we had no choice but to put everything, use every element we could do to get the most high-tech computer screens and all that kind of stuff. And as far as the costuming, that was just, I've done costuming for 40 years. I mean, that's what I do as well, and I love doing it. And I just go and see something, and I would take this piece and mount it with that piece and mount it with that piece. Back in the day, I used to take all the movie props from all the old movies like Waterworld and RoboCop in Hollywood, and I would piece those together and make all new costuming. And I would love doing that. And then, of course, the monster was based off of this is very fascinating. SCP is based off of the 5 scariest things on the internet. And I did research on the 5 scariest things on the internet that went viral. And it really influenced me. And they were all kind of put together to create Blink Man. You know, if you saw that Russian video of Sleep.
Yeah, sleep deprivation.
Deprivation of all those Russian soldiers who were made to stay awake for years or months or whatever it was, and they started looking like monsters, and it was a viral thing. I had to have that, so his eyes and his cheeks looked like that dude. And then there's an SCP character, if you know what SCP is, big in the game market of these creatures that kids create on the fly, and they submit it and they create stories out of them. And some of them are so scary, and we just have so influenced with it. So that's how it all became like. We were also blessed to have incredible makeup artists, special effects makeup artists that had worked on classic movies. Like when we did Dead Still for NBC, for sci-fi with Ray Weiss, we got to work with the lighting crew that lit the original Friday the 13th. So when you got these classic people working on your movie that did these classic 70s, 80s horror films, now we fast forward to Never Blink. The people that did the makeup effects on the creatures did The Thing, and they did these old 80s horror movies. So we didn't go with CGI. We went with practical effects on the creature, and that's what you're talking about. It shows that they went with stuff that would be you could actually physically fight with. You wouldn't have to be working with a green screen and having to do all that, because we didn't have the budget to do that. So I said, let's just do it old fashioned. Much funner to do it practical anyway.
I think that part was flawless. Just I got to say that. Now, here's where I'm going to nitpick with you. Casting. That was way too many hot women doctors. I've had women doctors now for years, and I've got a couple that are pretty darn hot. They wouldn't even have made the cut with that cast that you put together. I'm just going to put that out there.
That's funny. You got me all panicking that you were going to get all review-like on me, and then you did that, and I had to laugh. Yeah, well, I think that's one of the formulas in horror movies.
Well, we wanted to have an Australian and a British because we wanted more of an international film. So that's why the lead is Australian and the gentleman is British. And then we had some other very attractive doctors in it as well. But I think it was just based on having a lot of fun, and also as a producer, knowing what you have to sell.
I mean, the genre, you know this, the genre is women, and they like to have sexy women. Look, Alien, she's in a t-shirt and underwear fighting a creature.
She's mid. I mean, yeah, she's become a sexual icon, but okay. Now, first of all, played Dr. I believe what was her name? Dr. Erin. Okay, the main girl. First of all, to give you a compliment though, the acting, I gave you a hard time about the casting. The acting was perfect, seamless.
Thank you.
Absolutely, everybody knocked it out of the park. That being said, when Dr. Erin cries, is she that talented, or did y'all spray her with pepper spray?
She's that talented.
She cried on the fly, and
oh
it's
my
hard
God,
to do
that wasn't just one tear.
Yeah, she's that talented. She's an amazing actress.
She was really.
She was in. Have you heard the movie called Monsters of Man? It did so well. It was 25 million views that film got, and Netflix's Monster of Man. That's where we found her. She was the star of that, and then Dr. Conrad was the star of. He had a lot of big movies in the past, Bulletproof Monk and all those, the British actor. But she's that talented, Wes. She
gave it her all. I mean, she was dragged across the floor. She was covered in blood, and she wanted to do all the stunts. She really put everything into it.
I mean, I remember one thing when we were shooting. This is probably the last day, and we were 20 hours in. And we had lost a few people because they were tired and we had to let them go. And here she is covered in that creature goo in the end. I don't want to give it away. She's covered in dirt. She's going to act. She's all sweaty. She's got this old tight t-shirt on. And she goes, we don't have anybody to slate. She runs into the camera and slates it herself, and then runs back and runs into the shot and acts. I mean, she's just a passionate actress.
Okay, now one more for we're going to do announcements, and I'm going to toss you over to Chad, kind of get back on schedule here. Okay, now here's the scene I want to ask you about. This is not a spoiler, everybody, and of course we're talking about the movie Never Blink. This is not a spoiler, but okay, Dr. Conrad, one of his last scenes in the movie, when Dr. Erin confronts him, when she calls him on what he released into the world, did that fucker grin?
Yeah. He grins.
Okay. People, I understand if you haven't seen the movie, that won't mean anything to you. That creeped me out 100%. Because I don't know how to explain it. I made a note here. I don't even know what the note means, but yeah, it didn't seem out of place, but it was like it seemed like a real personality warp there on what he was trying to accomplish.
He took his part really seriously.
It's a justification.
I think he's proud of his research and proud of what he's been able to do in the Blink world. You know, I mean, a lot of this movie is based on real science. Maybe not so much as the Phasman, fantastic monsters, but the actual theory of blinking and a multiple universe and all that. That's all true. That's all stuff is true. So he really liked doing the doctor thing. He thought kind of like a Frankenstein role. So when you say grinning, I think he's proud of his creation.
He was brilliant. He gave us Yorkshire tea bags at the end because it was all Brits stuck together.
Yeah,
So there you go.
Okay, let's do our announcements now, and then I'll toss you over to Chad. Okay, first announcement. We are going with Brooke Bundy. Brooke Bundy from A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 and 4. Brooke Bundy, who played Elaine Parker. And, of course, if you want to go through all those stuff, it's Star Trek Next Generation, all kinds of stuff. Latest movie shows at 2020. But, yeah, Brooke Bundy. Now, our next one, Joanne Willett. Joanne Willett. Joanne was in Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge. But also, she did Twilight Zone. She did Amazing Stories. She did Tales from the Dark Side. There's another big one here I wanted to get in there. Let's roll through it here. Your Worst Nightmare. The Walking Dead. That was it. Joanne Willett is coming to Scarefest 2025. Now, next up, we got a mountain monster for you. William McQuillian is coming. Mountain Monster is coming back. And Jeff Headley. Jeff Headley is coming back also from the Mountain Monsters. Now, we've got, I didn't pull up their page. That is this weekend. This weekend. Central Kentucky Mystical Market this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Go to scarefestweekend.com and you can find out more information like the times. So Saturday starts at 11. And then Sunday, anyway. The Saturday and Sunday, 1165 Center Parkway, Lexington. Psychics and Artist Market, third weekend of every month, and this is the weekend. So if you're free this weekend, go check that out. Now, in 2 weeks, I will be at CreepyCon. Now, if you're in the Tennessee area, Knoxville, Tennessee area, this is a really nice con. CreepyCon. Knoxville, Tennessee, creepycon.com, or look them up on Facebook. But Adrian and I are scheduled to have a booth down there. CreepyCon, we will be there. Now, I do want to give a plug for Haunters Against Hate event. The event, Season of the Witch is what they're calling it this year. Haunters Against Hate is putting it on. Louisville, Kentucky. Look them up on Facebook. But it's a really good fundraiser there. Now also, just because you're not busy enough in August, hey, let's go to Rewind Time. August 23rd, Adrian's little toy convention. Unique finds, vintage toys, collectibles, Funko Pops, sports memorabilia, and much, much more, including myself. I am scheduled to be doing really bad tarot. Of course, Scarefest will have a booth there. Saturday, August 23rd. Don't miss that. And finally, I do want to give a plug to Barb. Her little podcast is on YouTube tonight. And tonight, 10 movies to add to your watch list. Sea creatures, mostly sharks, but sea creature movies with Jason Shepard. Go to YouTube, look for At the Talking Heads. At the Talking Heads. Okay, over to you, Chad.
Guys, we kind of touched on it some, but for those who have been under a rock for the last year, you all are major TikTok celebrities.
Kinda, yeah.
And just to think that I never even looked at TikTok for until last year.
Yeah.
So let's tie that into what we've been talking about already. You mentioned it. You guys started out in music. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you transitioned from music to movies, and now you've blown up on the music side again.
Without getting, I'll try to make everything.
Well, I think when we were really young, Phil and I,
11 years old, right?
well, actually, in grade 4, we were playing guitars and running around
Singing Beatles
songs, and the girls would chase us, and we'd be singing, "Help, I need somebody." You know, we'd be doing that.
Yeah.
And so we were growing up in music because our older brother John was the drummer of a very successful band.
He got a gold record, and he was in a band called Sweeney Todd, which Nick Gilder, Hot Child in the City, was his big hit, and he sold to Scandal and all these other big bands, 70s bands. Then Bryan Adams replaced him, the Bryan Adams, of course.
Then Bryan Adams was kicked out of the band, and I took Bryan Adams' place.
He would have been 18,
and the day
19,
and the day I turned 18, I opened up an arena door, and there was 20,000 people, and I was so scared. And that's the day I turned 18. And then that's when we started being into the rock and roll business. And then eventually Philip and I formed our own band and moved to Los Angeles. And then we did, the Whiskey A Go-Go, the Roxy,
got to open up for Motley Crue at the world famous Troubadour.
Mm-hmm.
This is when, God, I don't want to show our age, but this is when rock and roll. I mean, you're talking about Whiskey A Go-Go, the Roxy. Yeah. This was a time to be alive in rock and roll. Yeah. Motley Crue and what was the Babies? We saw with all these bands.
Yeah, all the rock and roll.
We actually got to see U2 in a small club before they were even famous.
Well, U2 actually played. We played with U2 in a place called the Woodstock in Anaheim.
In Anaheim,
so it was
concert theater.
The K-Rock days in LA and in the 70s. No, the 80s and the 90s. We were doing it, and we kept doing that. But the thing is, I was saying earlier, we needed to work too, and the music still wasn't paying enough. So we started picking up side jobs doing movies. And we'd still do music, but we'd be doing movies. And then movies started making more money. So we said, well, let's do music for our movies and do publishing, which made a lot of money to help us. But we ended up doing movies because movies started making more money, but we still were doing music. And now, slap that 40 years later, someone bangs on the telephone and says, hey, is that you guys that did that song? And I went, which one? She went, on to Moses. It was Rolling Stone magazine that called us. And I went, holy beep, I'll beep myself out. And I went, oh my God. And Gabriel, my son, and Phil's daughter, Heather, said,
you guys are famous
all over the internet. And I went, what? What?
You got to watch TikTok. And I go, what are you talking about? I looked at TikTok, and there were thousands of videos of young kids singing a song. And
I just posted on my Instagram, which only had like 2,000 people at the time. I said, wow, all I said was, wow, my mind is officially blown. That's all I said. But they knew who we were, and suddenly 40,000 people a day started becoming our friends. And then we went ahead and started.
So this is the thing. They all wanted to re-release the song Ulterior Motives. So we had to find the search for the master. So here we go and look for all the old tapes. Yeah. Half-inch studio tapes, the way they used to record it back then. Couldn't find anything. We found tons of wonderful songs, which was wonderful to find this music. But we couldn't find the one that they wanted released. We could only find the drums and bass and keyboard tracks. No vocals and no guitar. So I looked at Chris and he goes, oh, man, that's 40 years ago. I can't sing that high anymore. I said, well, we got to redo this song. We went in the studio.
I'll quote in Rolling Stone, they actually, I'm probably the only guy in the world who actually said this, and Rolling Stone published it. I said, if I have to squeeze my balls, I'm going to sing this song. And they quoted it on the magazine.
But we went in and we recorded the song, and Chris sang it amazing.
Yeah, 40 years later.
Amazing. And I redid the guitar. And I've said this in other interviews before, that high of going through that, what we went through, when we had written hundreds of songs back then. And we were signed to Capitol Records back then. And for some reason, the album got shelved without bad mouthing what happened. We were produced by big producers. Smokey Robinson's producer, Tiffany and Debbie Gibson was really big back then.
Talking Heads,
You know,
it's not making sense.
The 80s stuff. And these were the producers
There's
that
some
were.
political bullshit that happened.
Anyway, the album got shelved. We were devastated.
Yeah.
And who would know that 40 years later, that would become, what is it, 12 million now? 12 million streams. And we got plaques from YouTube and from Spotify, top streaming albums. And article Rolling Stone that we would have dreamed of back then to get. I mean, what's really funny, I was asking my brother John, who had a gold record, I said, how many units do you need to sell to get a gold record?
100,000.
And he goes, I don't know, I can't remember. Was it 250 was platinum or 500,000 was platinum?
100,000, I think, is gold. Yeah.
So what, when you get 12 million, what are we at with that quadruple? What's that?
Well, with the streaming business, we were able to buy a cheeseburger.
Yeah.
But it's been really beautiful, and it's changed our life. Not that we don't want to keep doing movies, and the paranormal we kind of took a break from because the attach was pretty heavy for me. Changed my whole life. We talked about that before, Chad, and all that, and you know what happened. But and then Never Blink is a very serious horror film, a very high-end horror film, which we're very proud of. And it's been really nice to do the music for a while. And when you hear the soundtrack, which I said I'll give you a copy when I see you, it's not only does it sound phenomenal, but it's all full of melody. So it's not just like, I mean, there is a lot of ambience and scary stuff, but it has a lot of beautiful melody for the emotions that you go through.
I think the hardest thing Chris was talking about earlier, and it was the same as shooting the film Never Blink, is people take for granted how hard it is not to blink, to never blink. If you tried right now, you would find it, Steve's blinking. And you got to remember, once you see this movie, within each blink, the science is really fascinating because, you know, the mind fills in the gap that you don't see when it goes black. So if you're walking along the street, you don't see this black fluttering black and
Well, you can if you think about it.
You know, what you see is you smooth, but that is a pre-recorded image of what you saw that the mind fills in. So it's actually a false image. So that was a cool premise, that if you were able to record the actual blinks, that it was a false universe and you would be really seeing something. So we said, well, it's just as hard not to blink. And then with the music, Chris goes, I got to come up with a sound of that. What do I create as a sound
you know,
of
like,
not blinking?
I think you saw the movie, Chad, didn't you? But when you blink, right?
That
what kind of sound are we going to put to that? And I tried like twing, and I go, nah, that doesn't work.
Yeah, twing, ting,
the kind of little sounds you're going to make to blink, and because of the motion of the blink, you have to match the sound with it. And I'm trying to figure it out. So we came up with this very deep sound design of actually it's a person that is breathing and actually in pain, backwards, put together with 3 synthesizers and all sound design, so it go, you know, kind of like that. So that was probably the most difficult part of it. But.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the music stuff because we have a lot of huge fan base in all those areas, and the paranormal horror area going, whoa, what's going on? All you're doing now is doing music, and then all of a sudden now it's all Never Blink, and the music's here. And I think the best thing to say to both those fan bases is that both of those things we're so extremely passionate about. And
well, I think it's just
really hard to, you know, you are what you are. And you just, as long as you do it, it's not contrived, it's from the heart, and you have so much passion, you know, that's what you need in today's independent film.
We've been creating since pretty much day one. Phil and I really have never had a day job, which, you know, bad or good, I guess. But I know that if we can't create,
we were fired from every day job we had.
Well, if
we'd be those guys
in these industries.
Yeah, we'd be the person caught daydreaming, looking out of the window saying, I'm meant for something.
Well, I mean, we did well on film sets, you know, because we're very creative and we're very hardworking. you know, they'd always say, we need this. Like we worked on a movie called Dreams. No, what was that?
Dreamscape with Eddie Arnold, Dennis Quaid. That one?
Yeah, Dreamscape that had Quaid in it and Eddie, what's his Albert.
Eddie Albert.
And if you've seen that, it's about the President of the United States and the end of the world and the apocalypse. And they were trying to make the city look like they used King Kong's tram cars. They used those as a subway blowing up. And they had real billboards. Well, we're the ones who had to move those real billboards.
They would say to us, I remember back then we would be lifting these billboard blown up pieces into the sets in the truck, and they go, hey, we need somebody to do this. I can't swear, this stuff. And they go, hire the booth players, they'll do it. But that's how we climbed up.
Yeah, we worked really hard.
Is we were there, enthusiastic, and they saw us doing that, and they'd always call us. And then we found a script in the back room and a budget.
Yeah.
And we said, hey, we can make movies. We can do this. That's kind of a backstory there.
Well, I appreciate it. We're coming up on our last break. I'm going to toss it back over. I think Joe Lewis is coming up in this break. We'll be back in just a few minutes with the Booth Brothers talking about Never Blink.
Hey, Scarefest, this is Joe Lewis of Bonehead Weekly, and some of you are wondering right now, why is Joe so sweaty? Well, I just got done mowing right before the rain, so I'm just a little sweaty mans. This week, I want to preface my review of the movie I'm going to talk about with a conversation that I've had with a couple of people over the last couple of weeks. One in particular, I will call her out. Joanna messages me and says something about 28 years later. So, oh my God, I can't believe you liked it. And I go, what are you talking about? I like Danny Boyle. He's an artist. I didn't care for the last couple of minutes, but it's a really good movie. And she goes, yeah, but you hate everything. That's not true. This week's review, I prefaced all of that with Fear Street Prom Queen. So if you have Netflix, at the end of May, Fear Street Prom Queen came out. Now, I know a lot of you love the R.L. Stine books. I like some of them when I was a kid, too. I know a lot of you love those 3 movies last year, 78, 98, 2002, whatever they were called. I didn't care for any of them. I know. I'm going to read you a review. None of what I wanted or hoped for happened. The only reason I watched Fear Street Prom Queen as long as I did was because I kept hoping it would finally get better, or at least give me a shocking twist, or a decent killer reveal, but nope, nothing approved. Is it completely forgettable? It's written and directed by a guy named Matt Palmer. There's another writer too. I haven't seen any of his other films. I thought maybe he was the one that did the 1600 or whatever, but it's not. And it takes place in the town of Shadyside, where all these things take place. And it's a prom in 1988. So some of you with 80 nostalgia are going to enjoy the music. I enjoyed some of the music, but I think they could have even done a better job with that. And the prom queen is about to be elected, and it becomes deadly because some of the prom queens are getting knocked off. And our lead, Lori, played by India Fowler, is, kind of like that, oh, I'm not all that hot. Let me take off my glasses, even though she doesn't take off her glasses. You guys know every single cliche in this movie exists in this movie, or in any of these movies exists in this movie. The red herring for who the killer is, even though you kind of already assume and get it, and then you're waiting, well, there's got to be a better reveal than that. There isn't. I've been told by several people I should try to concentrate on some of the positives of some of these reviews. So here's one of the positives, okay? Bloody. So if you want something bloody with a lot of bad language, if you also like bad acting, this is also good. If you like people being cast that you can't, is that the same person in a different role or whatever? Then this is good. This is good if you like that kind of thing. If you're wondering whatever happened to Chris Klein, and now you're saying, Joe, who the hell is Chris Klein? Rollerball remake. American Pie, that good-looking guy that's very vanilla PG, Chris Klein. If you had the hots for him in the 2000s and you're wondering what happened, he plays one of the dads. Did I mention it was very bloody? But even with the blood, they do a ton of CGI blood. I know why they do it. I know it's cheaper. It drives me crazy. If you're going to do a slasher, try to be original. If you're not going to be original, then go over the top in some areas. Make it funny. Make it interesting. Do something. Just don't do the same damn thing. Is it awful? No. if you have Netflix and you want an hour and a half where you don't have to pay too much attention and you just kind of want to watch some blood, guts, and you're having a kind of a drink and laugh at people getting murdered, it's a solid C movie. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen, nor is it even close to the worst thing I've ever reviewed on here. But is it worth your time? If you like the other three, then maybe. If you're a huge fan of the books, maybe. If you hate me and just want to prove me wrong, I mean, I get hating me, but why would you waste your time on me? I didn't even go to my own prom. This has been Joe Lewis of Bonehead Weekly.
And welcome back, everybody, to the final segment of tonight's show with the Booth Brothers. We've been talking about their new movie, Never Blink. We've got a couple new projects I want to hear about. But before we move on, okay, on the little CD cover, why did Christopher get his name and all your stuff says, Philip says, who's who?
Oh, and Christopher Saint.
Yeah, who's who and Christopher Saint.
I think it's that kind of algorithm thing, to be honest.
It's a because I'm a music producer, and because I had the all the accounts and everything set up already, it was easier to slide in who's who than start all over again. It's kind of like if you had to start Scarefest TV all over again. It's not something you want to do when you have an algorithm and a big fan base. It was easier just to tag who's who with Christopher Saint, then start who's who, then you have to start with who's who, then you have to deal with Christopher Saint. It's a business thing, really.
Oh, okay.
Nothing. I mean, I want to tell some sexy story, but that's
it's got to do with the algorithm. It's got to do with the algorithms of Spotify and getting the money into it fast without setting up new accounts or not being visible, because Who's Who had never been on there, but Christopher Saint goes back many, many years. And so we wanted to make sure that it was seamless, that the Who's Who's fans could get it visible no matter where they Googled it, it would come up.
There, okay. Still boring answer, but I was hoping for something funnier. Anyway, okay.
Everybody overlooks that this, in the end, no matter how creative it is, it's still a business. Everything has to be a business. And that what allows you to keep doing it.
Also, you want to do something that doesn't take so much more work, because then you're going to be really, oh God, I wish I didn't do that, or you want to make it fun too.
I want to take this time to do a shout out. I promised I want to send love to a beautiful girl in Canada, Marissa, and then you want to say hello to
my girlfriend in South Africa. Her name's Nicole.
Because they're signed on to watch us tonight.
Okay, Never Blink, everybody's coming out July 29th. Now, you got a couple notes here. New documentary. What can you tell us about that?
Well, it's going to be a lot of fun because we really go through a lot of a life story, and we've done life.
This one is sex, ghosts, and rock and roll.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people. The 80s was a wild time, and when we were doing music, and then we licensed music to the adult industry, was how the song got found. If everybody knows the story, they found the 17-second clip in an adult movie. And everybody wants to know about that. But the truth of the matter is, it was an amazing living experience for us that
Basically, we're going to do a documentary of what happened in our life from, the adult movies to the paranormal, to the horror, to the music, and how it intertwined. And there's a lot of really wild and crazy stories.
We went
the Motley Crue.
Yeah, we went through
nothing,
Oh my God, we went through hours and hours of high eight. Who uses high eight anymore? We had to buy a high eight deck off of eBay to find all these. We found all these old high eight tapes of us back in the 80s, and we said we got to put this footage of everything we did back then. And so for our fan base, it's going to be spectacular. And also, this is probably almost like an exclusive because we haven't really mentioned it yet. We're putting brand new songs we've just recorded. This whole experience has inspired us to write new music, and we're going to incorporate it into the documentary. So there's going to be brand new music from Who's Who, and that's going to be pretty exciting. So it's going to be really cool.
You're talking about 12 million people that have streamed the ulterior motive, the face that is there. So we feel we owe it to them to give them a documentary, but this one's going to be very
Controversial.
entertaining.
Yeah. I mean, you know, living back then, opening up for bands like Motley Crue and doing that whole rock and roll thing in the 80s, you would never get that nowadays.
Meeting Michael Jackson.
Yes.
We have footage of us with Michael Jackson. You know, all this stuff that makes sense for everybody to, you know, been very fascinated by, that we put it out and tell a very emotional story about.
And it's aptly called Ulterior Motives.
That won't confuse anyone.
Hey, you know how many remixes, Wes, there are of that song on Spotify? What the hell many do you think of? Hundreds. Every time we try to do a new song, they keep remixing that old song. But, you know, we still get, you know, residuals, so
Yeah.
go for it.
Yeah.
Kind of like your wife saying, "We wear that tie again." I'm going, "I've worn that tie for 40 years." She goes, "I love that tie." And I go, "I don't want to wear that fucking tie anymore." You know, that's that kind of thing.
I'm like that with shoes.
Hey, Wes, you want to know? Hey, Wes, you want to know something?
Yes.
3.5 months now, quit smoking.
Well, God bless your little hearts. I about halfway took it back up. But cigars now, cigars. Don't smoke cigarettes anymore.
That's today's world for you.
Did you use any help, or did you just make your minds up?
No, just cold turkey. Cold turkey.
We just decided to do it mostly because our cigarettes cost $15 a pack.
American Spirit. We added $2 tax in Indiana.
That wasn't the main reason. We decided it got boring, right? You know, it got boring.
We talked about this a couple of years ago, Wes.
Oh yeah, I remember.
I never got chance to tell you we officially have quit. 3.5 months now strong, and don't even think about it.
Congratulations, that's amazing.
Till now.
Well, every time I turn on the news,
we need a cigarette.
Well, honestly, the first thing I missed about it came up at Scarecrow. All my friends went out to the smoking area, went outside to smoking. And it was.
Yeah.
I missed that because over the years at Scarefest in particular, I've met a lot of the celebrities that I've
Yes, on the smoking patio.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely. So yeah, I think of all.
I don't know what we're going to do this year, Wes, out there. I'm so used to just getting a break from the booth and going to the smoking patio. Now I'm not going to go. What?
Crack. Crack.
Actually, you're in Kentucky. We do meth in Kentucky.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, this is devolved. Okay, so you got the new documentary.
You can count on that with us.
The brand new album you got come out is basically the soundtrack to the documentary. Is that you're telling me?
No, this is the soundtrack to the movie.
No, what this will be the documentary we're doing is going to be on DVD, Blu-ray, and also streaming.
We are doing a soundtrack to the documentary, which will have all new orchestra versions of all our songs, and we're going to do a lot of new songs, and it's going to be fun. And we're also working on a new horror movie as well, which we really can't discuss that right now, but we're working on that as well.
2026.
But we have to be creative, you know. That's what we do.
So we've got another movie to look forward to. When's the documentary?
Yeah.
What's the timetable on it?
It'll be 2026. It'll be in 2026.
Yeah,
you can be busy next year. That's what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. Well, we thought that's why we'd finish off the documentary this year for Christmas, because our fan base. We did so well. We released Ulterior Motives, and
I was telling Chad that we released 5 albums in a year. Actually, 5 albums went out in a year, and you need 5 albums because what the streaming services pay you, you need to be putting out lots of stuff and getting lots of things to I won't get into it, but back in the day, you made 12% off an album. So if you made, you sold 12 million, you made good money. Here, you can do 12 million streams and literally walk away with $4,000. That's it. So it's a tough business, but we do it. We love it. We do it. So
Might have to go back to doing stage shows. That's where the money is.
It is merch. We have a merch shop that we're opening up, which is T-shirt, books, stickers, posters, CDs, movies. We have talked about. Funny you say that, Wes. We've been offered a tour in England, and we're talking about putting a band together to tour because
It would be so much fun.
It would be a lot of fun.
I mean,
I spent most of my life touring anyway. By the time I was 26, I had played thousands of shows. And then we went into the film business and toured doing the film business. But we're talking about touring with a band soon.
Yeah, I'll never ever get over when it's dark on stage and you step on stage and you see the audience out there and all the fog is there on the crowd and the lights and the high. That's something you can't buy. That's something that's just so powerful of an experience. And I miss that. And we've been offered a tour all through Britain because we have so many fans. European fans, Brazil,
we have a lot
Italy,
of American fans.
France. Yeah, a lot of American, but I'm saying it's something that's very intriguing to think about if we could do.
That's why we love doing Scarefest, because everybody at Scarefest, for anybody, well, obviously you're watching Scarefest TV, you would know about Scarefest, but Scarefest is like one of the best, or is the best convention to me in America, because everybody truly is just really nice and beautiful. You can't give out enough hugs or take enough hugs there because everybody's so sweet.
And the best thing is, because I have no filter, anybody that I catch not being the best, I call them out on air.
Yeah, but everybody needs one of those guys, right?
We all need a Wes in our lives.
Yeah.
We all
See,
do.
I'm waiting for y'all to come up with a project I can be a part of, because I can't sing, I can't play an instrument. Now y'all going on tour. You've never asked for a second-rate podcast host in none of your casting calls.
We could probably put you in a horror movie being a podcast host that goes crazy.
Yeah, with a bunch of female good-looking doctors.
Now that would work. That would work for me. What?
Just make him a victim. We'll do it practically.
I will be a victim if I can get doctors like that to do the autopsy. I'm just going to put that out there.
And all practical effects, Wes. No CGI for that.
Shoot it on your farm, too.
We'll make it a snuff film.
There you go. At my age, I got nothing to lose. Everybody, this has been Scarefest TV. We've been speaking tonight with the Booth Brothers. Next week, we're going to be doing a little feature on what will be going on at the Hunters Against Hate event in Louisville. See you next week.
Good night.